Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 8 of the Learn How to Study Abroad in 30 Days series. My name is Kimber. If this is your first video that you're watching of this series, I would highly recommend that you catch up on the first 7 videos of this series so that you can just have some context for what we're talking about. So in today's video, we are going to be talking specifically about parents. I know that this is a huge topic that a lot of students always ask, how can I get my parents to agree to study abroad? How can I get them to at least sign off on it, even if they're not helping me pay? And if I need them to help me pay, how can I get them to write the check? So we are going to go through and talk about some tips that you can use to convince your parents to help you study abroad. We're going to get started now. So welcome to day 8, everyone. This is going to be a hot topic. This is one of people's favorite topics when they start working with me through my advising program or just in general. I know that, I have in the past done some content on this, but I definitely want to dive a bit deeper. And that is what this video is going to be all about. And we are talking about sort of going back to the key player conversation, specifically talking about parents and guardians, because I know that there are a lot of people out there who this is the sticking point for you. You have gone through and you've thought about your why, you've thought about your what you want to do, you've thought about when you want to go do it, but you have to go through the gatekeepers who are often the gatekeepers of the money, whether it be they're going to be writing the check directly or they're going to be co-signing for a student loan for you, however that's going to work out. And we are talking about parents today. So discussing parents and guardians when it comes to study abroad, this is it can be very challenging. I will just say that, because I know that people are coming at this from all different angles. And I just want to put it out there that when I'm saying parents and guardians, whatever that looks like for you is fine. So even if it's just one parent or one guardian, I'm not, here to figure that out. That's fine. I'm just saying in general sense that, this is very difficult. And it's really interesting because one of the questions I often get, even from people that are more like colleagues that work in this space is, well, I understand that for maybe high school or secondary school students that want to study abroad because, you may be 16, 17, even 18, maybe going off to college somewhere abroad. And so I get that because they're younger, but why would a college student really care what their parents have to say? Well, we have to be honest about the fact that, there's obviously this sort of idea of, once I'm 18, I think that pretty much across the board, no matter where you are in the world, once you hit the age of 18, you are considered an adult. But you're pretty much going to be a kid for most of your life in a lot of ways because there's never not going to be a time, with the exception of when people pass away. And even then, it's still true that you're not going to be your parent's child. And so there's always going to be some level of feedback. And I can tell you, even now in my 30s, that I still can't really do that much without a lot of feedback, although I have more agency now to sort of speak up and say hey, okay, back off. But you have to get to that point. And most college students, when you're in your 20s, you're still not going to be there because the majority of college students are depending on their parents in some way, whether it be if you're here in the U.S., maybe you're still on their insurance, or if you are over in the U.K. or in Germany or in India, maybe they are funding your college experience or whatever that looks like for you. So you know what I'm talking about, but you can't always just easily get away from it. And it gets a little bit easier as you get older, but they're still going to be your parents and they're still going to have input regardless of whether they're writing a check or not. So I know that a lot of you struggle with that. And I think that it is important, and we're going to do that in a second, to think through about where they're coming from. Because as, the world of kiddom goes, even if we're a little kid and we're thinking about, oh my gosh, I cannot get that toy, why are my parents so mean? Even to the point where we're, 25 and we're thinking why are they saying that, I shouldn't move to this new city to get this new job? I should be able to do this. That there are some things that we have not considered. And of course, this comes with age of just thinking about, maybe seeing it from their side. I am not a parent. However, as I have grown and gotten older, there are certain things I understand, especially sort of looking at the scope of things today and looking at kind of younger kids now and seeing what they go through, that I sort of understand where they're coming from. So we want to think about some of the concerns that parents have, particularly with study abroad. So one of the main concerns that they're sort of thinking about, I can just tell you, even from some parents that I have worked with when I start working with their kids, and I end up like talking and connecting with the parents and trying to work on them to convince them, is that they're thinking about this impact on your academic success. So in this particular module is definitely going to be important to people who think that they're going to have a hard time with their parents, or maybe you've already had a hard time, you've already tried to have the discussion with them. But also, even if you have had a positive experience, your parents may have had some of these same issues and maybe they were just able to see past it. But the impact on your academic success is going to be important. Most people who have kids who, even if you are just in high school or secondary school, or particularly if you go off to college, they want you to have the best experience ever, and they want you to definitely do well academically. And to them, they may be looking at study abroad as something that is going to disrupt that, because again, a lot of people still don't understand what study abroad is, how it works. Definitely send your parents the link to this series, okay? So that they can get more informed about it. But, a lot of people still don't understand how it all works and how it plays into the big picture. And so as you can remember, in the previous day, we sort of worked through you starting to think about your academic plan so that you can be clear on that yourself. And later on, I'm going to actually share with you a freebie that's going to be really helpful to you as you plan to discuss this with your parents. But they're going to be thinking about it in terms of the impact of your academic success, probably mostly top on the list. Financial concerns could definitely also be one. So as we know, and as we've talked about, study abroad, similar to college in lots of parts of the world, is expensive. And it may not be something that they feel is either worth it or something that they feel is out of their reach. And so one of the things that you definitely want to do, you're going to see that in the freebie that I have for you, is that you want to paint the picture that in a lot of ways, study abroad is very affordable. It is comparable to what you may already be paying for college right now. And so it definitely is not necessarily without your reach. Now, there may be other things that you need to consider. So it could be where maybe you get lucky enough to get a scholarship, but they're still going to need to help you financially with your day-to-day living, and that may not be something that they think they can do. You can definitely work through that and figure out the numbers for them to start painting a realistic view so that it's not something where they're just Googling and all these figures are coming back to them and they're like, this is just too confusing. I feel like we should not do this. You want to paint the picture for them, tell the story for them, but just keeping in mind that for a lot of parents, financial concerns is one of the reasons that they feel that study abroad is not attainable. Safety concerns. I mean, we have to be honest about this, that, I'm not a doomsday person, so I don't think that, every time I step outside, everything is unsafe. But we do live in a much less safe world than we did 5 years ago, than we did 10 years ago. And it will continue on that trend because there are more people and there's more things going on. And I think that on the day-to-day, even though parents are parents and they're going to worry about you, I don't think so much it's about like the safety of, oh, my kid is going to step outside and bad things are going to happen. But I think that there's definitely the concern of, they're so far away. And even if you're a student who you have, let's say, you have gone to a different part of your country for college, that feels a little bit different. I think about, maybe even myself, because I went across the country here in the U.S. for college, or even a lot of students that I know that maybe they had never moved anywhere else until they went to college. It feels a little bit different to be able to hop on a plane and be in a place maybe in 2 hours or 3 hours if something really bad happened. Whereas if you are separated by a complete ocean and maybe you're not always talking to each other every single day, it may just feel so disconnected for them that may be a huge worry for them of, oh my gosh, like, will they be safe? Not even saying that you could be going to a really like a country that is super safe, although where is that place in theory? But it's like, what does that actually mean when they feel like, I can't necessarily always connect with them? And if something happened, would I be able to get to them? And how would it work? Like, that's usually what is playing in their mind. It's not so much about the fear factor of them thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to go outside in this new place and everything's going to be horrible. It's more about like, if something happened to you, what would be the consequences of that for us versus just, you being in the same place, even if you're 2 hours away and me being able to get to you quicker. So you want to think about it from that perspective too. Cultural differences. So if you think back a couple of videos ago, how we were talking about cultural fit and how that is important, your parents also think about that too. I know that in a lot of different respects they think about this. So probably if you have brought someone home that they didn't approve of, they thought about the cultural differences. They also think about that from your education perspective and from what you're going to be doing with your life too. They want what's best for you. And so they're thinking, like, will you actually fit in with this place? Do you know anything about it? How are you going to manage actually getting to meet new people? Parents think about all those things too. So you want to consider that as a perspective and something that you can potentially show to them that you have thought about. Also, as we sort of touched on in the first point, but I definitely want to mention this, is the lack of understanding of your big picture. So you definitely have probably consulted with your parents a lot about your academics, but you have your big picture. Again, you have your academic plan. So what does this look like for you? You want to be able to sell the reason why you would like to study abroad and why it's going to be so impactful for you. And I think that there is a clear way to be able to do that for your parents to actually be able to see what's going on and see how it fits in for you to be able to get that yes that you were looking for. So one of the things that you're going to find in the freebie that I have, if you have not had a chance to look at that, I talk about it in the outro, so stay to the end, but it is a freebie workbook where we actually kind of work through the steps you're going to take to have a conversation with your parents, with your family, if you have not already. And one of the things I always like to say is you want to enter the conversation expecting a yes. So that can feel very bold and very intimidating. It could just be because I'm an only child, so I already have kind of that baseline for expecting a yes most of the time. But no matter what kind of situation you're coming from, you want to enter it with a positive sort of aspect, if you will say. I can't even talk today. So you want to enter it from that mode. You never want to go in sort of playing small. So that is something that a lot of people do, is they feel like, okay, this is not going to be a good conversation. It's going to be really negative. Maybe in the past you've already had to try and have this conversation. They're like, no, no, no. Well, you're going to have to get out there and go for another yes. And that's what we want you to do. But I want you to approach the conversation expecting agreement. And again, it may not be an automatic agreement, but some type of resolution. So approach the conversation from a positive, feel-good place. And again, the plan that I have in the description box is going to help you with that. So definitely go ahead and download that. It's going to help you to sort of structure the type of conversation that you want to have so that you can go in there and, senses are not as heightened. You're not going in with as much tension, and it's just a conversation. And so while I know that it can seem really intimidating to think about discussing study abroad with your parents, with your guardians, especially if you feel like you're going to get pushback from them, I have something that can help you with that to just help the process along a bit more. So if you go into the description box now, I have my free workbook called Parents Say Yes. And so this is intended to give you the steps that you will need to have a productive conversation with them. So you will go in, and the workbook takes about 30 minutes or so to complete. It could take even shorter than that if you're really speedy. But what you're going to do is you're going to work step by step down the line of the workbook to go through, and it's going to start out by just having you redefine your goals. And then what you're also going to do is you are going to start planning out what some of their reservations might be. So as we talked about in the video, there are common reasons why parents are concerned about students studying abroad. You're going to come up with some ideas of things that you can say to counteract that. And you want to make sure that this is productive in all your planning so that you can have a positive conversation. It will be sent to your inbox once you complete the registration form. I'm so excited for you to get it in your hands so that you can start planning it out, get rid of some of those nerves, and work towards a yes from your parents so that you can begin to plan and keep going with your study abroad journey. I will see you tomorrow for day 9.